Hey, Linda, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Lay there. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Oh, so great, so great. Good. Get started here in just a couple of minutes. And then we have Annette that joined us as well. Good evening, Annette. How are you? Great.
Great.
To have you here this evening. And this is our Natural Health Enthusiasts group. And wow, we just really enjoy sharing this kind of information. If you like it, stay with us each month. And we're here to help answer questions and to share some really incredibly not so often heard information. So glad that you're here with us tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to put yourselves on mute, uh, and we'll keep you on the honor system. Otherwise, we'll have to mute everyone. But we're just so happy that you're all here this evening. My name is Dale Campbell, and it is my pleasure to be a part of this organization where we are really just sharing lifestyle health opportunities where we can keep becoming healthier tomorrow, that healthier than we are today, every single day. And we keep getting healthier and healthier no matter how old we get. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to this. At this time, we have a welcome video, and we're going to ask Barry to share that welcome video with us. Barry, are you ready?
Do you ever feel the need for more energy, vitality, and a greater sense of well-being? Then stay tuned. We are natural health enthusiasts with yet another delicious recipe of best practices and holistic lifestyle health. Our natural health planners, sponsors, presenters, and friends compile and share the simplest, most natural discoveries and practices targeted to restoring and maintaining energy, as well as a sense of well-being that we all want in our daily lives. It has been said that health is a state of complete harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. Therefore, through the practice of the 8 laws of natural health, integrated with evidence-based research, we see a world empowered by Christ's love that is passionately seeking to be its healthiest in body, mind, and soul. And that's why we're so glad you've chosen to be here. Join us each month to help us celebrate the Creator for the resources and knowledge that consistently optimize His gift of natural healing in our bodies. We thank our hosts at the All Nations Fellowship Seventh-day Adventist Church in partnership with Community Outreach Incorporated for providing this one-of-a-kind opportunity that helps us all live healthier tomorrow than we are today, every single day. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your Natural Health Meetup presenting team for this life-enhancing edition.
So fantastic. Another life-enhancing edition. And just to reiterate why we're here and who we are, a little bit more of that. This is an outreach ministry. This is now our 105th episode. Not all online. Many of them were held on site at our Downers Grove location at the All Nations Fellowship Seventh-day Adventist Church. But we're just so excited to be here with you today. And I want to also share with you that one of the, should I say an agenda, is the blue zones around the world. If you see, we can see it on the map here as I share the screen. Loma Linda, California, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, Okinawa, Japan. And these are the 5 well-recognized blue zones based on lifestyle. Just based on the idea that we have an opportunity to really and truly live a lifestyle where we don't need to be using medicines very often, if at all, and where it is just about how we live, the quality of the food, the quality of our thoughts, the quality of the community where we live. And I wanted to share with you also that there is a new community And maybe I'm going to pause just to ask the question. Does anyone know a blue zone, another blue zone community in the United States that's, I want to stop sharing for just a quick second, that is already seeing impact? Does anybody know where that is? Jump in or put it in the chat if you do. All right, I guess not. So Albert Lee, Minnesota.
Michael,
Yes.
unspotlight me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, let's see. How do I get there? I saw the opportunity and then I forgot about it. Let's see. Where are you? Barry, where are you? I don't see you. Oh my goodness. All right, let me change the view so I can find you. Are you still there?
Just spotlight yourself then, and then
I see you now. I see you now. All right, thank you. All right, so I don't know if you were seeing. So were you guys seeing the 5 zones? I don't know if you were or not. So I'll go back to that in just a minute. Anyway, Albert Lee, Minnesota is the place, and already they're saving money on healthcare costs. Already the number of hospitalizations and the health ranking has gone up in all the counties within their state just by changing their lifestyle. And I just really wanted to share with you that one of the items that we have in our vision right now is to be able to have a virtual blue zone where we get together here each month, we live a lifestyle, and we come back and we can share the progress that we're making in our health. And so these 5 blue zones around the world, we want to create more of those. And that's one of the reasons that we're here. I also want to just remind you that lifestyle is about whole foods, right? And this is just an example of that. Just want to remind you also, you want to clean them up either with vinegar or baking soda solutions and get rid of those chemicals that they put even on the organic foods, right? And be sure that you take good care of just everything that we're doing regarding our health. And just to remind us also in this presentation, even though we're talking about health, it is lifestyle health. It is not intended to be prescriptive, to diagnose in any way, or to treat any condition. We will occasionally have a name of a disease or a condition, a health condition, but even so, it is not professional advice, it is not a diagnosis, and we encourage you to seek a qualified healthcare professional just to answer your question specifically as the right thing to do. We also have an opportunity here for you to meet other members of our team on screen, and this is some of our team here. Not everyone's here, but just we're so excited that you are here this evening, and we are going to go right now into our opening prayer. I'm going to invite everyone to bow your heads for just a moment of prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the awesome world that you've created. Thank you for the symphony of resources that you present to us. And we're just incredibly thankful that we are able to take just a few minutes of a month, each month, to come here together, to learn more, to explore more deeply, to understand better, to be able to implement the strategies more effectively in our lives, and to have this opportunity to give you the credit, the honor, the glory for putting it all together just for us to discover, and so that we can be healthy and that we can honor you even more so in our daily lives. Please bless this meeting tonight. Bless all those who are here and yet to come, and may we all be blessed as a result, and may we carry the blessing we received to bless others. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So it tells you a little bit about who we are and why are we here, Dr. Danny? What are we doing?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. I just want to echo what Mr. Campbell has shared. We really do appreciate you being here. Um, we are meeting every Sunday to prepare our meetings like these, and we get just so excited about the things we want to share. So to be able to share it with you is exhilarating. I have a unique role as a professional. I'm a teacher. I'm also a pastor. I'm a chaplain. Um, and so for me, I get to see the dynamic of the mind, the soul, and the body, right? So when I look at the young people that I teach, I'm a high school teacher. I see some of their behaviors, their attitudes towards health, and their how they treat their bodies. But I also see what effect it can have on them academically, right? As a teacher. But then at times they come to me and they say, "Hey, Pastor Frederick, hey Chaplain, I need to talk to you about something moral, something on their heart, something of the soul." And so I have that unique dynamic. And what we want to do here, and we've been doing for a number of weeks now and months, is try to help unpack the combination of the symmetry between the body, the mind, and the soul, the moral, the physical, and the mental. And so our title this evening is How the Body Works, or Body Works 101. Do we truly understand what goes on, um, how the mind affects the body, how the body affects the mind, and how the mind and the body affects the soul, or our moral compass? And so we have Dr. Rick with us, and he's our favorite, right? We've known that he comes with a wealth of experience. He's been in hospitals, he's been in homes, and he's delved deep into healthcare. So he understands the nuances of many diseases, but he also especially understands that combination of body, mind, and soul and spirit. And so we're glad that he's here this evening. After he's finished presenting, but before he presents, actually, we have a testimonial by Miss VG, and then he's going to present, and then after that, we're just going to have some questions and answers. And I really hope that you pay attention because, as I said, I'm a teacher, so I can ask questions, and I hope to call on, I don't know, Miss Linda or Francetta or maybe even Regina. So be prepared, be prepared. Without further ado, I'm wondering.
I don't see VG.
Neither do I.
Yeah, just text message to her. So we may, if she does come, we may have an opportunity to do it later. But she is not here at this time.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
For one of our future episodes, I have a colleague of mine who's gone through a terrible, difficult experience of trying to figure out some of the causes of her illness. We almost got her about two months ago, but she called me at the last minute and says, "Pastor Frederick, I'm just not ready to share my story." She went home to be with her father and mother for a while, and when she returned, she was able to say, "Hey, I may not be able to tell all of it, but I feel convicted that I have to share it now." So please stay tuned. Look forward to hearing part of her story, the surgeries she went through, and I'm sorry. Okay, I'm hearing my.
Yeah, we're getting an echo there with your voice for some reason. Not sure why. Anyway.
Right. We will transition now to Dr. Rick, if that's okay. I know you're a bit early to share, but are you ready, Dr. Rick?
Yes, sir. I was captivated listening to you, but we can go ahead and squeeze into that spot. I guess that what part of what I had wanted to share, and it's just some thought questions at the beginning. You know, how much do you know about your body, right? If your doctor tells you something, do you ever tell your doctor, "That doesn't make sense to me"? You ever say that to your That makes sense to me. Why are you saying that? Or have you said, nah, I'm not going to do that? And I've dealt with so many people over the years that when their doctor tells them something, it almost puts them in a panic because they say, well, my doctor says I need to take this, but I don't really want to take it. What can I do? I said, last time I checked, it's your body, right? It's not your doctor's body, it's your body. So part of this presentation, and I've taken some really complex ideas and hopefully make them very simple. But what I want to do is push you, in a sense, back toward the time when you were in school, right? I know that for a lot of people might be a frustrating time because you had to challenge yourself or be challenged or find ways to learn things that you really didn't know so well. And maybe this is the case here, but I'm telling you, understanding your body is a life or death commitment. It is a life or death commitment. Even when you go to the doctor, even when something is wrong, what's the first question your doctor asked you? What do they ask you? They say, what's wrong? Why are you here today? And we kind of fumble around with saying, well, my back hurts. Well, my leg hurts. And we expect the doctor to really be able to decipher what that means. I'm saying that is each one of us, we have a responsibility to gain more knowledge about our bodies and how it works. And I want to just tell you I would share a little something. It's a true story. It's a young lady in the southern part of the U.S. that called me, and she, interestingly enough, was in the hospital. Her head had swollen up with fluid. The doctors were saying it wasn't draining out like it's supposed to. And she was having terrible, terrible headaches for, I don't know, the last week or so. And it was causing some other problems in her body. Things like that can lead to meningitis and other things that are life-threatening. So if you started presenting like that, what would be your thought? Would you say, I've got to go right to the hospital? Or would you say, wow, I need some onions and I need some garlic and I need some cabbage and I might even need some Epsom salt and a little bit of olive oil? Is that what you would say?
Absolutely not.
Well, fortunately, because they were talking about, the doctors were prepping her for surgery. They said, we need to do surgery to get this fluid out of your head and probably put in shunts so that it drains properly. Does that sound like fun?
Nope.
No, that does not sound like fun to me. So I told her to get those exact ingredients. I said, you probably need maybe a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch slice of a large onion, and get about a small clove of garlic, or maybe 3 or 4 cloves of a large garlic bulb, about 2 or 3 cabbage leaves, maybe if you don't have that, just use some collard greens or spinach. And I want you to put a tablespoon of olive oil. That's all. No more than that. Just a tablespoon of olive oil. And I want you to start with maybe an 1/8 cup of Epsom salt and blend it up in your blender. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that because we would take us a whole nother different direction. But suffice it to say that by the time she followed the procedure, and I assured her after prayer, I said, look, you don't have to worry about that surgery. Don't even worry about it. And by the time you do this procedure, it'll take you maybe 30, 40 minutes. You won't have any headaches anymore, and you won't have to worry about that either.
What?
What in the world could you understand about your body and about garlic and onions and cabbage and olive oil and Epsom salt that could possibly put off a surgery and cause the fluid to absolutely drain from the head? So I told her this. She was in severe pain, but I guess her husband helped her get it together. And believe it or not, she sent me a text late last night, and I was going to read the text, and maybe I will just read a portion of the text, just so you know this is no hoax, because it says, Dr. Howard, my head no longer hurts, and I've gone to the bathroom several times to urinate, and I'm sure it's my body getting rid of fluid. And thank you so much. I feel so much better already. Thanks again. Praise God, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that comes because of an understanding of the body. There's other ways that we could have done that, but where does your body drain the fluid from the head? Now, I'm not going to get into this too deeply, but until about 2 years ago, it probably was about 4 years ago, medical science said there are no lymphatic channels in the head. And I had a lady from visiting me for some work from Nigeria. She had 21 tumors in her head, and she was in terrible pain. But, on the way to resolving that, which we did, and praise God, she had no more pain. She traced exactly where the doctors later found lymphatic channels in the brain. So all I'm saying that to say is doctors do not know everything. And if you put all your weight on their knowledge, you're bound to lose at some point. Thank God there are many doctors who are doing many things and that are helpful, but you should not just put your trust blindly in what they say. So I'm going to just share. I picked 4 things, or maybe a 5th thing, that I want to share. And Brother Mike, am I able to share?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
You should be co-host.
Okay. So I'm going to share these things, and we're going to work on this here. Let's see. Let's do this first. Okay. And then we'll go here. Okay.
This is Bodyworks 101, according to Dr. Rick.
Are you seeing that?
No, I'm not seeing the
Yeah,
screen.
I didn't think so. Let me
No, I'm just filling
the gap.
the gap here while you're
Okay,
negotiating
there
the
it is.
technology.
I have so many monitors open. I have to find where the sharing thing is. So here we
Okay.
go. All
There we
right.
go.
So we should be seeing
Yes.
this, and I think it's and I'm gonna just go back a little so you can see this crazy roadway, because most of us have learned to drive, or at least been with somebody who's been driving. And if you had to drive on a road that you did not know, or the person you were driving with did not understand the rules of the road, would you feel safe? I wouldn't. I've driven with someone who has not been, in my opinion, capable of driving, and I was very quiet, right? I didn't want to disturb them. This basic presentation is to help us to understand the laws of life. God does an incredible thing. He puts us behind the wheel of a life, it's seemingly without full instruction, right? That's an incredible thing. And through our parents, we are to learn the laws of life. We are to learn what we're to do and how we're to do it, through our teachers, etc. But laws are everywhere. If you were driving with somebody and they thought that the red light means go and the green light meant stop, what would happen? Tragedy, I'm sure. Okay. So that's why so many people are sick in our lives, because key number one, we need to learn and obey the laws of our body. That's the first thing. I think if you get that, that will be the most impactful thing. One of the most impactful things you can do is learn what your body is saying when it gets sick and what laws are being broken. And so we live by law. The reason, and get this, the reason for so much sickness is ignorance of or rebellion against God's laws. We must study to understand. Okay? If I use this a lot, if I were walking down the street and there was a sign that said manhole cover missing, and I didn't see it, I wasn't trying to walk into the manhole, but I just did. I didn't see it, and I fell into the manhole. Will I get hurt or not?
Yes, you will.
Absolutely. Yes, you will.
I will get. Ignorance is not going to protect me, right? I am going to get hurt if I'm walking on my roof and I don't pay attention and I fall 40 feet. I'm going to get hurt. It's the same reason that most people are sick. Most people are sick not because there's some strong and virulent disease that's coming and attacking them. It's because we're ignorant of the laws. And it's just like that young lady I was telling you. She was prepared to have surgery on her brain, when if she had understood her body better, a little bit of onion, garlic, and these other things with a little heat applied, solve the problem right away. So you must understand the law, that your body runs by law. It's just like criminals are supposedly arrested because they have broken the law. We aren't arrested because we break the laws of our lives, but we are sick because of it. Or if we rebel against those laws, we say, oh, I know I shouldn't drink 6 liters of pop a week, but it's so good to me and it's my favorite. I think I will. Do you think you would do well doing that? No. Why? So part of what we're trying to do is understand the why of how our body works. And this, I'm bringing up a little image of what's inside of our bodies, because I wonder, could we name what we see? Could we place where the liver is? Most people think their stomach is in a different place than it is. The lungs, we could probably identify the heart, the digestive tract. We need to understand our body. And this must become a priority, because just learning about what food we should eat is not going to work. Okay? And I'll use one more thing, then I'll move on. But I had some kind of stress, a really, really bad stress, and not thinking. I ate something, and almost immediately that thing just came right back up out of my body. Not because I was quote unquote sick, but because when you are stressed, part of the preservation mechanism your body does is to shut down digestion. Yeah. It doesn't matter why you're stressed. You could be stressed because you're late for work. You could be stressed because the kids got on your nerves. You could be stressed because your spouse got on your nerves. The first thing your body does is shut down effective digestion. We got to know that. Okay? So that's one key. Learn and obey the laws of your body. Now, this I've shown before. This is the mental, moral, physical. Number 2, we have to learn our map. Now, I thought when I said that, that's kind of going old school, right? Because most people talk about GPS, and as long as you're going and you set it in your GPS, you don't care where it is, right? But if you want to be sure what your territory is or how you're to build your house, which in this case we're doing, you have to know what land you're building on, or else your neighbor will come along and say, you need to tear that down because you're built on my land or by the land. God gave us a map of the land that we're to build on, the physical, mental, moral world. Now, this is how shall I say? This map is kind of like a 10,000-foot view, because nobody really looks at it that way. You say, but we do separate it in our lives, because we say, I'm working on my spiritual life this week. I'm working on my physical body this week. Well, when you eat, are you not working on your spiritual life? Let's see. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says what? whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all of that to the glory of God. So when you eat and eat properly, you are working on a spiritual life. You are impacting your moral power. You are impacting your mental power. And I want to go a little deeper into that because this is actually super, super critical. Okay. When I eat something, the food goes into my stomach breaks it down, it goes into the digestive tract. Do you realize all the neurotransmitters, in other words, the chemicals like serotonin and other things, epinephrine, that operate our brain is made in our colon, it's made in our intestines. So if you eat the wrong thing, your brain will not be able to think clearly, and it will also impact how you sleep. So if you go and you say, well, I'm going to go to the health food store and get some melatonin because that'll help me sleep. Well, melatonin is a byproduct of one of those things your colon makes called serotonin, which you hear about when people are being depressed and all of that. Serotonin, your body changes to melatonin, and that's what helps you sleep. But it will not do it if you're a junk food addict, if you are eating too much sugar, if you are too stressed, if anything that changes the bacteria in your gut out of balance, it will stop the colon from making those things that make your brain work right. So the map is telling us that the physical and mental and moral worlds are hooked together. They are integrated. So whatever I do to the physical will impact the mental and will impact the moral. All of it's tied together. So if you do not learn that, then you won't understand blood pressure. You won't understand that getting angry can cause your blood sugar to spike, right? Infection can cause your blood sugar to spike. It doesn't have to be anything you've eaten. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I hope
Yes,
so.
sir.
So point number 3, and I'm trying to save some time for asking questions about these things, is vitality begins with healthy thoughts and a clear mind. Now, this is getting deeper and more particular. Most people, when you ask them, they say, I'm going to change my diet, or I'm going to start exercising and get my health better. But do you realize that your vitality, your health starts with a healthy mind? If you have bad thoughts, you say, oh, I'm never going to change. I'm never going to lose weight. I'm never going to do this. You are making yourself sick, and you probably won't reach your goal. Doctors, when you go in their office and they say, and I've seen it, unfortunately, too many times, they'll say, oh, you're going to die in 6 months, or you're going to die, or you're not going to get well. We got to do this surgery, or you're not going to get well. And probably once we do the surgery, you're still going to be in bad shape. How does that make you feel? Have you ever gone to the doctor's office and felt worse after you went from what they told you than you did before you went? Vitality begins with healthy thoughts. and a clear mind. That is so important. That is something that will cost you nothing except exercising and disciplining yourself to keep casting out negative thoughts, even about other people. Negative thoughts about something somebody did to you 10 years ago. They spilled Kool-Aid into your computer and that made you mad, and you can't forgive them. You can't forget it. Do you realize that thought is poisoning your life? You're not hurting them so much. You're hurting yourself. True health begins with healthy thoughts and a clear mind. So I'm not holding any grudges against anybody. And faith, real faith, and everybody in the world lives by faith. I do want to say that. And that may sound strange. All sinful people, atheists, everybody lives by faith. I'm just going to let that sink in. It's what they have faith in that makes the difference. So if I have faith that my bank account is going to save me when I get old, and then all of a sudden something comes along and wipes out my bank account, how do you think that's going to make me feel? It's going to make my world crash.
Yep.
Because I have faith in my bank account. Do you test it when you sit in a chair? Before you sit in any chair, do you test it? No, we don't. You can see a person who is, we could consider an atheist, or they proclaim themselves atheists, and they just sit in the chair because of the weight of evidence. That is how we live our lives. When we balance what we believe and everything is in harmony, then it literally produces peace and strength in our body. Misalignment, when we're angry, when we're distressed, these are the things that cause sickness. So vitality and even sickness is a total body response. And I'm going to share what that means a little closer. Okay. So we're going to look at our mind and our brain. Okay. And I have at the top of this, the brain is the capital of the body. Look at this and understand this, because this is why most people are sick and can't get well. The brain is the capital of the body. Life, health, and worship flow from here. Our bodies are electric. Wow. Did you hear that? So you say, wait a minute, what do you mean it's electric? Like I plug in my refrigerator, is that kind of electric? Similar, because our bodies make what they call chemo electric power. Okay? It's made from chemicals. So when you think bad thoughts, you look at the part that shows you the mind, and then the brain gets activated by your emotions, by something that happens, something that you think is going to happen. Then it activates the endocrine system, which are hormones, and the nervous system. And then it goes down into the body, the muscles, the skeletal system, the lymphatic, the circulatory. Your heart begins to race. All of the reproductive organs begin to shut down. Respiratory gets affected because I'm thinking of something negative. and my breathing becomes labored.
Hello, hello.
The more pain that you're in, it becomes labor.
Hello.
Yep. Please put yourselves on mute. Go ahead, Dr. Rick. Sorry about that.
Okay, so, and then it gets to your skin and your digestive tract and your urinary tract. That's what we finally begins to start to see the effect of our thoughts. Do you see it? You trace it all the way down to your skin. So when I get embarrassed about something, well, not me, but some people, their skin turns red, right? Why? Because it's showing you that your thoughts have changed the circulatory system and the muscle structure of the arteries, and it shows up in your skin. And your skin says, hey, you're embarrassed. Okay. But by the same way, what we call skin diseases work the same way. Not necessarily by our thoughts, but it can be worsened by our thoughts and worsened by our emotions. Or if there's some other toxin that's introduced into the body, this is kind of a map of how it flows through the body and comes out. So when I eat something that doesn't agree with me, my brain relays that and says, oh, I detect this is not good. It tells my nervous system. The nervous system affects the muscles and the endocrine system, and then it goes to my digestive tract and I throw it up. I'm telling you, if you learn that your thought life is equally powerful as any food that you can eat, and sometimes more powerful than the foods that you eat, I will say as influential as the food you eat. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Our lives would change. Okay? So let's go to the next one. So key number 4, use the right fuel. It's 3-dimensional. Now, what do I mean by that? We familiar with eating food, physical food, apples and grapes and bananas and hamburgers and, barbecue ribs. We're used to eating that, but we don't think of it that our thoughts and emotions are fuel for our body. And really, if you learn about how your digestive system works, your body does not readily use animal foods. It needs plants. Plants are the only sources of, get this now, plants from the sun's light make sugar, and from that, the body makes fats. So like omega-3 fats only come from plants. Protein only comes from plants. So you got to understand there is a particular reason why we emphasize plant-based eating, because the fuel that our body uses, there is no vitamins in a 12-ounce steak. There are no vitamins. And the only minerals that are in that are ones that come from the blood, which is not a good source of minerals for the iron, maybe a little something else, but only minerals that we eat come from plants. So our thoughts are generated, and our body generates the impulses that build our energy, comes from plant food and the sugars and the vitamins and the minerals that only come from plants. Does that make sense? You see, I can eat a hamburger, but my body has to do so much work to try to extract from that hamburger what I'm eating, that it takes the body about, in most women, 72 hours to fully digest that hamburger. And let's say in most men, if things are working well, probably about 55 hours.
Wow.
So how many people only wait 72 hours or 55 hours before they eat another hamburger or they eat something else? That is why our bodies are so constipated. Our breath is not fresh. Our bones are hurting because we create a fire in our bodies by eating that type of fuel. And we'll talk more about that next month. But the main thing is, we cannot just think about plants as fuel. Your emotional life is fuel for your body. Your thoughts are food. And if you eat the wrong food, you will negatively influence your physical body and things will begin to break down. So if you have high blood pressure, it's not the best time to get in an argument with somebody, right? Because it's going to make your blood pressure go higher and so on and so forth. Okay? And all of that, and we'll come to this in a little bit. Hopefully you can ask questions. But these same things are what activates your nerves, your muscles, your bones, the organs. So that's why when you get nervous, people get nervous. They wet themselves a lot of times because that thought and that emotion starts activating your kidneys and bladder, and boom, that all comes together in a physical response. Okay, so I want to just take one more thing and I took blood pressure just to use this as an example. Okay, so I said blood pressure is not a disease, which, boy, that sounds crazy to some people. But it is a gauge of how we balance our lives. So when the doctor says, I have blood pressure, my blood pressure is high, is that because I don't have enough of a certain medicine? So he says, you're lacking this medicine, so we need to give you this medicine. Or is it because possibly my kidneys are in distress? So if I do not drink enough water, or there's an infection in my kidneys, or my blood sugar is not balanced, or I eat a very high protein diet, it will cause my kidneys to signal that I have hypertension. I'm just letting that soak in. It's the kidneys that control the blood pressure, not the heart. The heart creates a rhythm, etc., but it's the kidneys by collecting these plant-based minerals and things that control your blood pressure. So a high protein diet can throw that off. And I don't know if you know this, and this is just another of these signs. When you go to your doctor and they evaluate your kidneys, there's a value called the glomerular flow rate, or it might say E, or estimated glomerular flow rate, GFR. Do you realize that is literally measuring how quickly your body, your kidneys can remove excess insulin from the bloodstream? If it can remove that insulin quickly enough, your kidneys are doing well. If it can't, your kidneys are not doing well. So it's literally based on how your body deals with insulin in the bloodstream. Okay. Oops. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Highly processed food. We eat, and I've heard the term used, frankenfoods. We eat foods that are so processed, man-made sodium. You realize sodium is one of the most important minerals that your body needs. In fact, for most people who have high blood pressure, if they got enough sodium in their bodies, their blood pressure would go down.
Yep.
But not man-made sodium. Sodium that comes in leafy greens, sodium that comes in cucumbers, sodium that comes in celery. Those things are so full of sodium, natural sodium, they will actually, you could take a drink, and maybe I'll share that sometime, maybe next month. We could take cucumbers, we could take celery, we could take parsley and mix it with an apple just to sweeten it up for most people, and a little bit of natural apple juice, and make a drink so delicious and powerful, it will lower your blood pressure if it's extremely high in minutes. If it's not high, then it won't do it. Just because we use too much man-made sodium, table salt, that hardens the cell wall instead of allowing a free interchange of things. So processed sugars, people get on these kicks with high fructose corn syrup and everything. There's agave juice. Most people who use agave syrup is just the same as regular sugar. It's a waste of money most of the time unless you get a particular kind. Junk foods, and any food without a floral balance. And this is what I mean by that is plants are the only foods that will balance the bacteria in your gut. Animal foods, no matter what, will not do that. And you can write this down, make a note. You should never eat fermented foods. Fermented foods are some of the worst things. They look at it because there's bacteria there, there's bacterial content, but it's the wrong type. You do not want things that come from anaerobic processing of stuff in your gut. So sourdough bread is the worst you can do. All right? It's the worst type of food you can eat. Or one of them. I wouldn't say it's the worst. Okay, negative emotions and lack of sleep changes your gut flora, causes fatigue, constricts your blood vessels, and changes kidney function. You just getting angry at someone, you holding a grudge, you being fretful about being late to work, literally causes kidney dysfunction, because the kidneys are dynamically close connected to your adrenal glands and they work together. So when you feel in distress, your kidneys are one of the first things that show it. Poor bowel environment. This, a lot of people don't know, this in and of itself can cause high blood pressure, because when you're straining to get that, you're straining, that causes the blood pressure in the rest of your body to go up. And if you stay constipated, more likely than not, your blood pressure will stay elevated. Okay. And it also changes neurotransmitter productions, which causes a lack of sleep, and so on and so forth. Other signs of misuse in the body, medications and other toxins. About 70% of prescription drugs are poisons. That's from the CDC. And there's environmental toxins. So why am I mentioning that? These things subtly change how you breathe, how your body works, how your bladder works, how your kidney works, how the brain works. If you cannot get these things out of your body, then your brain will be permanently damaged, possibly from use of some of these things. And there are warning labels on a lot of medicines that talk about that. So just in review, we want to just I want to just go over those keys again, okay? Very quickly, and then we'll have questions. So the first key is learn and obey the laws of your body. We live by law, and we have to not just depend on somebody else to tell me what to do. I have to learn. You study to show yourself approved unto God, and that's with your physical life as well. Okay? The second key, learn your territory, learn your map, that all of these parts of your body have just as strong an influence over the rest of your body. It's not just the physical. The physical can impact the mental can impact the physical, the moral can make each one sick. All together, that is a spiritual life. You have physical, mental, and moral dimensions. Okay? Each equally strong. Okay? So the third one is vitality begins with healthy thoughts and a clear mind. That is so incredibly important. We're always thinking, what food can I eat? What herb can I take? What supplement do I need? And we ignore the most powerful healing factor in our bodies is our faith and our mindset and the harmony between what we think is and what we think should be. That's more healing than many medicines. Okay? Vitality is a total health, total body response. And I'll just flash this up again very quickly. The brain is the capital of the body. Life, health, worship, all flow from the brain. Our bodies are electric. Okay, so all of these 12 systems, including the mind, it gives you the body. It all works together. There's no separation between those things. Okay, and then number 4, use the right fuel. It's 3-dimensional. That means my thoughts, my emotions, and plants. That's what generates the foods, that the energy our body needs. Our muscles run on sugar, glucose. Our brains only run on glucose. So even if we were eating a high protein diet to activate the muscles, your body changes that to glucose. So that's hopefully was not too, not too bad. What questions do you have?
Well, first of all, bravo. Some of you are familiar with Zoom, and down at the bottom, there's something called reactions. Would you do me a favor, please? If you took any notes or if something jogged, can you just raise your hand there on the reaction? Are there any hand raising? Any hand raises? I see one. Is there another? You took, I take lots of notes. I see another. Fantastic. Fantastic. Could we get a third? There you go. This is such great information. I appreciate it. I see a thumbs up. And for those of you that are not able to, I'm sure you're gonna grab onto something that Dr. Rick has shared. It is time to ask some questions, and I do not know, Brother Campbell, if Ms. VG returned.
I saw her come in,
So
and
did
I
I.
believe VG, are you here? We have. Can you unmute if you are?
I am here.
Ah, yay!
Hey,
There she is. Yes. So, Dr.
Hi.
Frederick, go right ahead. Lead her
well, we
in.
want to welcome you very much. Brother Campbell spoke to me about your opportunity to share and give us a little testimony in regards to some of the changes that you've made for yourself. And I want to share this with everyone. When a person chooses to make a change for themselves, for their health care, it doesn't just affect they themselves, it affects others, their family, their friends, their coworkers. So it's broad, it's beyond. And so we'd love for you to share at this time just a snippet of what your experience has been in the area of health, vitality, as Dr. Howard has shared.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much. I've been a vegetarian my entire life. And so we were raised vegetarian. And so I've always thought that I've had a really good diet. 2 years ago, January of 2021, I was at work and I started feeling intense chest pains, radiating down my left arm. I took my blood pressure and
Thank you.
I'm
Please
like,
put
oh,
yourselves on mute.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not good.
Mm.
And so I took myself to the doctor's office, and I didn't go to ER because I'm a registered nurse,
Okay.
and I don't want to sit in the ER waiting for hours and hours, and I don't because people use the ER as primary care. And so I went to see, and because I'm a nurse, I think I know what's best. So
Sure.
I go to the doctor's office, and at this point, my blood pressure was so high. The doctor performed an EKG in the clinic, and they took me right upstairs into the hospital, and they admitted me. They took me to ER, and they admitted me into the hospital. They kept me for 3 days. So they running lots of tests on me. My cholesterol was high, my blood pressure was high, and I am not understanding this because I have a healthy vegetarian diet that consisted of a lot of cheese and a lot of eggs and a lot of ice cream and just dairy, butter, pastries, all of this stuff. And so, of course, they want to prescribe all of these medications, Lipitor, 4 or 5 different blood pressure medications. And I'm like, I'm not taking any of this. And they're like, you have to take this or you're going to die. So when Dr. Rick, you said that, yeah, I know that doctors say this to patients. They're never giving you the positive or what you can do to turn this around, but they're pushing like 5 or 6 medications for me. And I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take it. And so I just laid there in the hospital bed, and I was just praying and asking God to change my thought pattern, give me the victory over appetite, and help me to be healthy, like really, really healthy. And the thought just came, and I didn't eat the whole time I was in the hospital. I fasted. I had my friend bring me some fresh juice, and I had juice and I had water, and I just refused to eat. When I came home, 3 days later, I told my husband and my daughter, I said, the Lord has put it in my heart to become vegan. I
All
said,
right.
doesn't mean you guys have to be vegan. I am choosing this for me. I'm not going to take medication. I had an appointment to go back to the doctor's office in 3 months. My blood pressure in 3 months was perfect.
Mm.
My cholesterol level went from 225. In 3 months, it went to 180.
Mm.
I went back again in 3 months, which was now 6 months, and blood pressure was fine. Cholesterol, total cholesterol is now 145. This is just in 6 months of not eating animal products.
Byproducts too.
I'm sorry?
Byproducts as well.
Absolutely. So I did not replace being vegan with eating a lot of the processed, the fake meats. I don't eat them. I eat a lot of plants. I juice. I exercise. I started telling people no, just changing my thoughts, not getting angry about things. If I can do something, yes. If I can't, and I'm okay with it. Not allowing things to stress me out, making sure that I take time for myself to exercise, making sure that I get more water. We hear that, oh, drink 8 glasses of water a day. Actually, it's your body weight. You drink your body weight divided in 2, and that's how much water you're supposed to drink. So no one's drinking enough water. And someone said that it affects your family. Well, my husband's been vegetarian now for 10 years, but he's been vegan now for 6 months. My daughter has been vegan for a year, and she's 11. And so for me, it is a little bit over 2 years. My weight, I'm not fluctuating in my weight up and down. I've been able to lose weight without even like doing extra stuff, just weights coming off. I think I told Brother Michael this past weekend, I said, wow, I tried to wear a skirt that my daughter and we have matching skirts. She wore hers this weekend. I couldn't even put mine on. It was too big.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, just my clothes, everything. And so I'm just grateful. My skin has cleared up, rashes, constipation, just a lot of issues that I was having, thinking that by having this vegetarian diet, which was very unhealthy, eating a lot of bread, eating a lot of pasta. And so I do a lot of soups. I do a lot of salads now. I juice, have smoothies, and I try to eat just more natural, learning how to cook and bake things that don't have all the processed sugars, don't have all of these salts and things that are not good for you. So obviously my doctor's like, well, you're just one of the lucky ones. You're one of the lucky ones. And I'm like, no. I was because they want the pharmaceutical companies pay them money to prescribe medication to patients. And I know this because I've seen this. And so I'm not lucky. I just advocated for myself, and I was intentional. And I just know that I asked God to help me, with this, and He did. And my family, they're benefiting from it as well.
To God be the glory. Wow.
Bravo.
That's fantastic. So I think Brother Campbell told you that I may be asking some questions as a follow-up, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so some people will say to you, VG, hey girl, you're missing out. We're enjoying this, we're enjoying that, why don't you have some? Why do you say no now?
Well, I also watch a lot of documentaries too. So Dr. Rick said that we should study to show ourselves approved. So being on this journey is not just about not eating things because I don't want to be sick. It's also educating myself. I am more aware that dairy products and milk have a lot of pus and have a lot of mucus in it. And so it is unhealthy. A lot of women suffer hormonal imbalances and suffer from reproductive issues. This is because of the milk and the dairy. And so it's more than just eating something that tastes good. I look at cheese and I look at dairy products and I see pus. I physically cannot eat it. And so I had mentioned to Michael before that I will come to your barbecue, I'll come to your picnic. I typically eat before I come, and I bring my food with me. I still want to fellowship and enjoy people's company, and I'm not the food police. I don't want, people to run away because I'm coming over. And so I just bring my food with me. I'm training my child to do the same. We went
Excellent.
skating last Sunday. We went to a party and they had all kind of stuff, and we had apples and nuts in our bag. And so while they were eating their pizza full of pus and their ice cream and their cakes, we had apples and nuts.
Mm. Well, good. Tell me one more thing.
Sure.
In regards to, and this is what one of the things that Dr. Rick was talking about, the mind or the thought process. In this transition, did you experience some moments of frustration, wanting to intentionally try to live a different life, but yet maybe missing or looking forward to or desiring, but choosing still to say, this is the path I'm going to take. I know this is better for me.
If I can be honest, because I'm a registered nurse, I've worked in dialysis. So I've worked with kidney patients. I've worked with cancer patients. I've worked on a cardiac step down unit.
Ooh.
I know what these foods can do to you. And I never thought that I would be on a telemetry unit for 3 days, which is monitoring your heart,
Yes.
and someone literally going from being on no medication to someone saying, you're going to be discharged with 6 medications. For me, I don't want to be on medication. I don't want to be sick. And so I didn't have the frustration of, oh, I want this or I want that. The will for me not to be on medication and not to become a dialysis patient
All right.
is greater than anything that I'm ever going to put in my mouth.
Fantastic. Well, VG, thank you so much. This is inspiration. Somebody to this evening heard your story, and I believe they are wanting to now make that change. Maybe they've been vegan all their life as well. I mean, vegetarian all their life, but now they're going to be transitioning to becoming vegan. Yes, there are lots of documentaries out there that can help us understand the nuances of what's going on in the industry of healthcare, but also even with plant-based. There's many athletes and actors and actresses that are advocating that. And as Dr. Rick says, this is God's laws. We stay in alignment with God's laws, we're going to be better for it.
Amen.
We deviate from that, then there's natural consequences. I want to start our question time with Dr. Rick by asking this question. When a person says, Dr. Rick, I want to be healthy, right? Maybe it's January 1, or maybe like VG, you feel a pain somewhere, you go to the doctor, you're in a bed for 3 days, you get released, and then you say to yourself, I want to be healthy. When people say that, do they often think of just the physical health? I want to lower my high blood pressure, or I want to lower my weight or my waist size. Do they think about that instead of thinking of the full map that you were talking about, the mind and morals?
Well, I just think it's a different way of thinking about things. I mean, the physical has a way of getting our attention. If something is hurting, something is uncomfortable, then we pay attention to that. And that's really a part of the plan. But when the thought comes to me, I want to be healthy, that is the beginning of the process. The brain has engaged the mental powers. I've thought about things, and that's the start of the process. So, but the problem is, most of the time, we don't know what healthy is.
All right.
So it's hard to become healthy if you don't know what that means. It's like Gigi was saying, hey, I've been vegetarian. She'd been vegetarian all her life, right? So what does becoming healthy mean to her? Is that better than this? So you have to learn to evaluate where you are.
Okay.
So that's really important. It's like the man that says, I have a glass of wine, a bottle of beer, and smoke a cigarette every day, And that's how I live to be 108. I mean, I've seen it. And that's people. So what does that mean? It means that just like as people, we each have different starting points of what is healthy. So I could be eating the same as someone else, and because I started at a different place, my health could be worse than theirs. And I'm eating exactly the same thing. I've known some people who ate good diets. There was a 25-year-old girl, beautiful girl. I mean, she was like stunningly beautiful. She didn't eat crazy. She exercised, but she had a heart attack. What sense does that make? She ate a reasonable diet. She exercised every day, but she had a heart attack. What causes that? It is because we don't understand that most sudden heart attacks and most even strokes are caused by infection more often than not by just chowing down on cheese or whatever. And you have to be careful painting your experience on everybody else and say, wait, they have to do it the way that I do it. There are certain laws that are in place, but at the same time, you have to really take a careful look at the individual life and say, how have you gotten to this point? I think that's,
Thank you for that response. Thank you, Dr. Hey, folks, it's now 8 o'clock, and I know we have a second video we want to show you, but who'd like to also ask some questions? We want to do that before we go to our closing video.
I'd like to ask a question. You mentioned that we should not be eating fermented foods.
mm-hmm.
And I actually, when you were talking, I started looking up some fermented foods and pickles, which I'm like, oh my gosh, I love pickles. And then somebody else in the chat also said sourdough bread.
Sourdough bread, kimchi.
And so, and I also use apple cider vinegar. Can you please explain why? And is apple cider vinegar okay to have?
Sauerkraut is another one.
Sauerkraut is another
Well,
one.
I thought what I really was talking about the ones
So let's deal with just understanding the mechanism in the body. Okay. Most people say, well, if you take apple cider vinegar, it'll keep your blood pressure down, et cetera, et cetera. And when people check, it sure does. It keeps their blood pressure down. Okay. But how does it do it? Okay. Apple cider vinegar is highly acidic. Okay. Usually around pH of 3 or, depending on how they make it, up to 5 or something like that. But usually around 3.5 or something like that. Pretty strong acid. So the way that it keeps your blood pressure down is by that acid going into your stomach and into your digestive tract and leaching out the calcium from there and sending that calcium into the bloodstream, and that affects the kidneys and lowers the blood pressure. But it also leaches your bones too.
Mm-hmm.
It also leaches any other thing that utilizes and stores calcium. So it can cause nerve problems. It can cause problems with your stomach. It can eat the lining of your the epithelial tissue in the digestive tract and in the stomach. It can eat those things up. Apple cider vinegar, I use it to clean fungus on toenails and things like that, but I do not suggest eating it. Okay, there's a lot of information out in this world that is poor information because it's based on poor suppositions, false notions. Okay, I had to tell one client, I hope this doesn't gross anybody out, but this one client of mine, I got a call. I was traveling somewhere, and they called me, and they had heard that drinking urine was healthy. And I had to say, why do you think they call it a waste product? Why is the body getting rid of this? Oh, but they found this, and this, and this in the urine, and my body needs that. I said, if your body needed that, it wouldn't have thrown it away. It's smarter than that. So you have to take some of the information you find with a grain of salt. Yeah. And fermented foods, you know, when you have the process of fermentation, you have the presence of anaerobic bacteria. Your body utilizes in your gut aerobic bacteria. So yes, fermented foods make bacteria, but it's not the right type, and it imbalances your body.
Speaking of the right type, somebody asked, I think it was Ela, and then NHE, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that right, you have a question as well. But Ela asked, where do you get B12 from?
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, because if you use something like apple cider vinegar, it's going to mess up the mechanism in your gut to produce those types of things. So where B12 comes from is that your bodies, the bacteria in your bodies, take the plant material that you eat and cultivates that with something they call the intrinsic factor, which is in your gut, which I believe is the bacteria, and it produces naturally vitamin B12. So most vegetarians, they say, are low in B12.
I've heard that.
They don't eat meat. No, that's not really it. It's really because most vegetarians eat a poor composite of plants, and they don't do that well enough to enable their gut to make the B12 that they need. So they should supplement that with, if you're having problems raising your B12 levels, I utilize a very good probiotic. And if you use an aggressive state of probiotics for a few weeks, a month, a couple of months or so, it will reactivate your body's B12 production. And
so what you're saying
the
is
other neurotransmitters that is also made in the gut. So all of that stuff, like the neurotransmitters, the B12, all of that is made in your colon.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is we need to make sure we have variety in our diet.
Variety of plants and the variety of foods, yes.
Yeah. And Nancy, go ahead, please. Thank you. I thought I saw you. There you are.
Yeah, hi, how are you? So I had a question. I just recently changed my physician because the one before that, I felt like every time I would talk about pain, because I suffer from, like, I'll get up and everything hurts for no reason. And so I felt like every time I said that, it would be, you know, subscribing me medication for anti-inflammatory, and I don't like medication myself, so I would never take them. So my pain wouldn't go away. So I recently switched physician, and the first thing she says is the same thing. What pharmacy do you use? I want to prescribe anti-inflammatory. So I guess my question is, what's the best way to get rid of, just chronic pain? And I do a lot of juicing, and I do smoothies, and I add supplements to them. Some I don't know if, because I get so many information from different people. I don't know if, I use spirulina, dolce, sea moss in my smoothies. So I don't know if these are good to add supplements to your smoothies or juices. So I guess that would be my question, because I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Aviji. I don't know if I'm ready to go cold turkey like that. I have tried, I'll give up some things for a couple of days and then go back. So I admire your strength, honestly. I hope to get there one day. But I guess I just wanted to know if adding supplements to those juices and smoothies, is that helpful, or certain ones better than others?
So generally speaking, the if you're having joint pain, okay, largely it is signaling that one of two things, that you have a dirty environment in your body. So for most people, I had a lady, she had like rheumatoid arthritis, seriously bad. I mean, for 5 or 6 years, it was so bad she contemplated, suicide because her pain was so bad.
Wow.
It took maybe about, I was getting ready to head out of town, but I said, I'll come over. It took about 30 minutes before she had no pain. Because you don't want, see, this is the problem that I have with a lot of herbalists and people like that, and I'm an herbalist myself as well, as a naturopath. But I think if you don't understand the body, then why are you adding these things? If you don't know what it's doing to help you move along, then it's almost like making your toilet water more expensive, right? So usually where I start with joint pain is, yes, get rid of dairy products, okay? They're going to aggravate your system terribly. And it's because, as was said, there's a lot of junk in it and such. But then I would also investigate getting the kidneys working optimally. Usually most people, and you can't depend on the testing alone that the doctors give you, because their measure of what a functional kidney is really usually not so good. So get your kidneys working well, usually things that will help your kidneys get well, and then look at your uric acid levels and, see if that is problematic. Some people have predisposition to producing high amounts of uric acid, but most people, that's not the case. So eating acidic foods will also cause problems. I had one lady had rheumatoid arthritis so bad, her knuckles were swollen. She couldn't hardly move. I just said, well, I need you to stop eating meat for, I want to do this for a week. I put her on a very tight diet for a week, and I gave her some herbs. Within 3 days, she had no pain, none, no stiffness. You can use, I usually have people test. You take maybe a half a gallon of water, spring water, and you cut up about 6 to 8 lemons in that, right? And you put a tablespoon and a half of ginger and about a tablespoon or so of turmeric, and just drink about 5 glasses of that a day. I guarantee you, with no doubt, that within a couple of days, you will not wake up stiff. You will not get up stiff. You will not have the pain. This will clear uric acid from your system and give you a fresh start. So,
can I jump right in there, Dr. Rick? And my concern, thank you for that answer. My concern, when we share these things for all of us, myself included, when we start feeling good after the 5 days, guess what we do?
go back to what we were doing.
Back to the bad habits.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why the mind is so incredibly important in healing, because the body is going to do those things and respond in certain ways. But if you haven't cleared out your mind, you're going to just go back to the same stuff. And you have to decide, do I like pain better than I like giving up those things? Or am I willing to trade those things so that I can have a pain-free life?
Wow.
You gotta ask yourself that question, and you've got to keep asking yourself that question, because that's where growth happens, right? When I meet a conflict, I have to make a decision about that conflict. And my oldest son, he had a saying. He said, when the pain of change is less than the pain of remaining the same, then everything will change.
Nice. Well, friends, I see Dr. Brother Campbell is trying to hint at us of something.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this. I know Dr. Rick, and I'll tell you now, he does what he does with prayer.
Yes.
And so he may have a lot of knowledge and understand how the body works and things like that, but he understands that the Creator God, he's the one that has ordained and created this. He's the master mind behind it. So I hope that as you try to change, as you try to transform your health lifestyle, that you make sure, bring it to the Lord in prayer. He will give you the victory like he's given to VG and many others. So thank you so much.
Yes, I just put a link in the chat for those of you who would like to stay connected, for those of you who would like to ask questions beyond this particular session. We're going to wrap this up. We have a 1-minute video coming up here, and we'd love Barry to put that on for us. And after that, we'll have our closing prayer. For those of you who would like to just spend a few minutes informally, just as we would if we were together, please feel free to stay on for our mixer. And this is where we stop the recording and we can turn our cameras on and continue the conversation, so we can get to know who we are. You can get to know who we are, and we can get to know who you are as well. So Barry, please play the closing video for us. And Dr. Danny, if you don't mind giving us the closing prayer. Appreciate that. Good.
We're thrilled that you're attending this edition of your Natural Health Meetup. In between our monthly sessions, you can stay connected with us in as many as 3 easy ways. Our Facebook group has our live as well as archived videos, along with other natural health updates and a place to post your questions. Our Natural Health Learn and Share Meetup site has announcements, reminders, and messages for you, and also our confidential requests for prayer page. We love to pray for you and any concerns of life that you may have. Use the link on the screen to stay connected for any one of these or all 3.
All right. As Brother Campbell mentioned, after prayer, you are free to leave, but we love to see you on the other side. Let's bow our heads. Eternal Father, we want to thank you so much for being such a gracious God. And I say gracious because, man, we have messed up so many times. But still, you've given us light, you've given us opportunity, you've given us knowledge, and you've given us the resources. You have provided us with everything that we need to ensure that we give you the honor and the glory through our bodies, whatever we eat, whatever we drink. And Father, please be with those that are in the valley of decision right now. Some have felt pains, some have felt their knees, some have felt their backs, some have gone to the doctors, maybe even this week, or are scheduled to go. Give us that conviction of what we're supposed to do. And then give us the peace that passeth all understanding to know that you are with us as we go through this experience. Thank you so much for the knowledge this evening. We pray that we will use it as was presented, learning the laws and obeying the laws of God. Bless our time together for the rest of this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So thank you everyone for coming out. This was an incredibly great session. Thank you, Dr. Rick, for your presentation. Next month, second Tuesday, I think it's March 12th. Come on back for the Blue Zone Health and Longevity session. And Dr. Rick is going to be sharing with us more detail about menus and recipes and solutions to various conditions and health goals.